Hello, everyone. My name is Aisha Harley. Welcome to the Essential Wellness Empowered Life series. We are so excited to be with you today. We bring you monthly essential oil education with a deep dive into powerful and relevant topics. We also offer monthly essential oil education calls and have a team website with our library of resources, which can be found at essentialwellness.life. And this is just one of the many amazing perks for joining our awesome team, and we'll tell you more about how you can do that at the end of this call. You can find our ongoing schedule on Eventbrite at Essential Wellness, and also on our Essential Wellness Facebook page, and or you can follow me at Aisha Harley on Facebook and or Aisha Alina on Instagram to stay up to date with all of our upcoming events. We also broadcast right onto Facebook, so it's just super easy to catch us live every month and for our ongoing calls. So today we have an amazing presentation with two of my very favorite ladies, Emotional Vibrancy. We had this class in Portland on Monday, and it was incredible and packed with phenomenal information. So you're definitely going to want to take a lot of notes, pay close attention, because there are a lot of takeaways here. So I want to introduce these two incredible women. First of all, we have Ariana Harley. Ariana has been working with essential oils for 8 years. She is a doTERRA Diamond Wellness Advocate. She's a teacher, a leader, a coach, and a healer. She specializes in providing daily steps to promote energetic harmony, bringing the mind, body, and spirit back into its natural state of balance and joy. She is born in Portland, Oregon, and her education includes 3 years of studying transpersonal psychology at Clear Mind International, which is in Canada. And she has also completed the ICANN Institute coaching program. She has a Bachelor in Fine Arts from the Pacific Northwest College of Arts and has completed the Master Healers program with Tiffany Carroll. And I might add, she is my beautiful and incredible sister, and I am so blessed to call her my sister. She is joined by the amazing Dr. Louise Rose. They are really a powerhouse team. And Louise is a naturopathic physician. She is a former chef and a neuroplastician. Try saying that word a few times over, a neuroplastician. Dr. Rose is committed to helping people get out of stuck neural grooves and stimulate new brain connections. She believes in the profound healing power of nature, particularly the therapeutic action of water, plants, and light. Working with patients at Rose Cabinet Medicine in Portland, and we'll tell you more how you can connect with her after this class. She is in Portland, Oregon, and she helps people reconnect with their inner vitality to increase their energy and become more emotionally resilient. She utilizes potent plant medicine in the form of essential oils with all of her patients and loves educating the public about how to bring essential oils into a daily wellness practice. So thank you both so much for being here today. And I'm going to go ahead and pass the floor on over to you. Take it away, ladies.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aisha. That was a beautiful introduction. We're so excited to be here and share information about our favorite subjects, essential oils and emotional health. This is a little bit about what we want to cover today. And I just want to tell you a little bit about why it's important, or why it's important to me. 1 in 5 adults in the United States experience mental illness every year. 1 in 25 adults experience serious mental illness each year. 1 in 4 American women right now are medicated for their emotional health. 1 in 4 women, so disproportionately affecting women in our country. And suicide is the 2nd leading cause of death among young people ages 10 to 34. And besides those staggering statistics, mental illness really affects our economy. $193.2 billion in lost earnings every year in the United States due to mental illness. And depression is the leading cause of disability worldwide. So we have some really great solutions to these problems. I think what we're finding is that the current medical model of emotional wellness is not really working very well. And so we need to dig a little deeper and find some better solutions. And I believe that we have a lot of solutions that we're going to share with you. If you think about an analogy would be if you got a splinter in your toe and it got swollen up and it was super painful and red and inflamed, and you wanted to treat the splinter, you might soak it in hot water. You might put an antibacterial ointment on it, put a Band-Aid on it, but you know that it's not really going to get better until you remove the splinter. That's what we talk about when we talk about looking for root causes. And our emotions are oftentimes signals that we need to change something in our life and go to the root cause. So suppressing our emotions or medicating our emotions away is not really pulling out the splinter at the source. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
And I would like to also add that it's probably not too far from you if you yourself suffer from any emotional or mental health anguish or hardships, or if you know someone in your community that does. And I just wanted to add this really sad, just very quick story. In my community, I know someone whose son Googled depression, probably because he's suffering from depression, and he actually got connected with a hate group and is now starting to believe in this rhetoric of hate groups that are targeting people who are suffering from depression or anxiety or loneliness. So I just think that this information is so, so important to share. Please share it with your community. I hope that people, when they Google looking for help, they find tools and resources to have a more vibrant life instead of the opposite of finding something like a hate group. That really broke my heart. So we often forget that we are nature. Nature is not something separate from us. So when we say that we have lost our connection to nature, we've actually lost our connection to ourselves. And so I really love that when we bring in the essential oils as a tool in our toolbox, even if we're in the city, in an office, not out in the middle of the woods or on a mountain or at the beach, we can have that remembrance and that reconnection to nature. And that chemistry really then helps us to remind us to tap into our inner nature as well, right?
Absolutely. And I like to remind people that everything in nature is either expanding or contracting, and we have the different seasons. We just entered into the fall season, if you're watching this live. And with that comes changes in how the plants are dropping their leaves. They're maybe going into their dormant stage. They're not producing fruit or sprouting new growth. And that's normal for fall. And we, as part of nature, also go through periods of our life where we're expanding and then contracting and expanding and contracting. So it sometimes feels like we're in a culture that only values growth, productivity, being busy, being outgoing, being social all the time. And it's really easy, especially with social media, to get the feeling that there's something wrong with you if you feel like you want to stay in and go to bed early one night or get more rest or be in that dormant phase for a while. So just a reminder that we can't always be productive. We can't always be go, go, go. And that it's normal to go through different phases of of your emotional health and see different seasons.
Yeah, so true. And then that connection with nature, I feel like us gardeners really connect into that because you're working with the plants and seeing, oh, the leaves are dropping now, right?
Mm.
So this is an introduction to our new product line, Adaptive. And Louise is going to tell us a little more about that. And then we're going to also move into giving you an experience. So if you do have this oil, you can go ahead and grab that. And if you don't have this oil yet, go ahead and grab your favorite oil.
Mm. Just a little heads up, this oil and the supplement will be available for purchase October 1st. So it's right around the corner if you don't have it yet. We're so excited about this new blend that doTERRA just released this year at convention called Adaptive. So there's an essential oil blend for the diffuser. There's the roll-on touch oil for using on your body. And then we have the capsules. So they're called calming blend, and they have mood boosting and tension reducing effects of the herbs and essential oils that are in there. In the capsules, we have the oils of lavender, coriander, wild orange, and fennel, along with the herb scaledium, which is an African succulent plant that has the effect of helping the brain feel calm but alert at the same time. And then it also includes the neurotransmitter GABA, which is very calming also to the nervous system. So if you think about stress is putting your foot on the gas pedal, GABA is like putting on the brakes. It's an inhibitory molecule and it slows down your overreactive stress hormones. And then it also includes a new omega-3 fatty acid from a plant called ahi flower, which is a beautiful food for the brain. We know that our omegas are so important for our brain health. So this blend could not come at a better time. There has been a rise in stress-related mental health issues, especially in marginalized communities since the election in 2016. And we're calling that post-election stress disorder in the medical community, and it's a real thing. So even if you're not affected by post-election stress disorder, it's very hard to find somebody in our modern day who is not dealing with the biological, physiological, and psychological effects of stress. So we've been using these products since we got them at convention, and they really work. They're very calming, and I just feel myself like I have a little bit more cushion and more resiliency and less feeling like I'm reacting to things. Would you say that's true for you, Ariana?
I would. What I've really been noticing is a deep wiring of really being able to, like, personally, I jump into stress mode to get energy. I don't advise it because it's depleting. And I'm really noticing this beautiful frequency and ability to get stuff done, have a super packed, busy day, but relate to it calmly in a centered, focused way, opposed to a whoa, that kind of coffee energy, that like, wow, So yes, I have noticed a really profound effect. It's great.
Nice.
So we are going to, and this is the blend for the oil. And that's what I have running in the diffuser right now too, that we were mentioning. And this one has the copaiba in it as well. And we know that we're going to be talking about that in a little bit, how great it is for the brain. You have anything to add on that one, Louise?
Oh, just what it says there is that there's the uplifting, calming, and then the brain and nervous system support with the copaiba and the rosemary. So it's just a really beautiful, balanced blend.
Wouldn't it be cool if we could have a diffuser through the webinar so we could share this?
I know.
That'd be so awesome. So I am a really huge fan of experience. And so if you are not driving or if you are somewhere safe where you can stop, I invite you now to experience one of the tools that I use daily to help with feelings of stress or anxiety. And so how you can do this is that you can put your feet on the floor, both feet on the floor, and close your eyes. And start off, you can put your hand on your heart just to connect into your body and your heartbeat. And closing your eyes and just observing where you are right now. It's like you're just watching yourself, so you can notice if you have any tension in your shoulders. Right now, I'm giving this presentation, so I'm feeling my heart beating a little faster, right? Because my brain needs to be alert and aware. So you're just observing. And with that, take a deep inhale. Inhaling through the nose, and then go ahead and exhaling. And then what we can do now, if you have the adaptive, that's great, but really any essential oil will work for this. You put some in your hand, and this is how we use it aromatically. You rub your hands together, and you take a deep inhale. And then you can keep one hand near your nose, so you're still smelling that essential oil, and you can put the other hand on your belly. And you're just going to be taking equal parts and inhale through the nose on the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to hold that breath for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to exhale slowly through the mouth on the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So you're inhaling, holding, and then exhaling through the mouth. And what you should feel with your hand on your belly is you should feel your belly filling up like a balloon. So on the inhale, your belly is pushing out against your hand. And that's your cue that you're actually bringing the oxygen into the lower lungs, and you're helping calm down the parasympathetic nervous system. There's some really great studies on the effectiveness of breath work. Many yogis have known this for a long time. When we are in fight or flight, or when we're scared or stressed, what happens is we're breathing, but it's very short breaths. We're breathing in the upper lungs. And if you've ever had an anxiety attack, or if you have ever hyperventilated, it's the opposite of this breath I'm teaching you, which is really rapid breaths, right? And that can produce a feeling of I'm not okay, feeling of deep fear. So again, you're inhaling, and it can even help you to just let out a little sigh or a sound to just help relax the body even further in this breath work. And I love to teach this because the essential oils are going to be changing our neurochemistry, our brain chemistry. They're going to be helping with that chemistry to help the body relax. We'll be explaining that a little further in this presentation, but also then the breath is working with you as well. And even as old-timer essential oil users, and I mean old-timer in that we've been just using them for a long time, can get really busy and just take a little sniff and quickly move on and forget to actually take a few deep breaths and let this great chemistry work for us along with our breath. So this can be done at any time, right? You can bring this into your day at any point. It only takes just a few minutes, and it's an incredibly powerful tool.
Absolutely. Thank you. I was going to share a little bit of science around the breathing before we moved on to this slide. Perfect. Thanks. When we were doing our research for this presentation, we found a great article in the Journal of Neuroscience where some Swedish researchers found that breathing through the nose helps with memory storage and consolidation. So interestingly, the amygdala, where we process our big emotions, and our hippocampus, which is where we store our memories, those are very closely linked in the brain. and that breathing through the nose actually improves our olfactory memory. So you probably all have experienced um, a scenario where maybe you smell somebody's perfume and you're instantly transported back to your grandmother's house when you were a child, or something like that. So our scent and our memory are very closely linked. But this recent study also shows that controlling our breathing through the nose, or even just focusing on the breathing, yields additional access and synchrony between the brain areas. So this also leads to greater control, greater focus, better calmness, and more emotional control. So it seems like a very simple thing. And if you are having problems with your emotions, you probably have read and have been told 100 times, focus on your breath, do some mindfulness. And it is so simple that we do tend to not take it very seriously, but there is a great deal of evidence and research to support that it's a very effective technique.
And a really great thing to add into that too is that, I asked you to check in right before you started the breath, right? So the brain loves evidence. And so you could check in and see, oh, I'm kind of stressed, or, whatever is going on with you. And then check in after you've smelled the oil and done the breath work. Do you experience a change? And let your brain know that, like, wow, I do feel calmer. I definitely felt calmer after I did those few breaths right then, right? And so that gives you an affirmation to want to do it more, right? It's showing your body this works. And the brain is like a little machine. It loves that. It's like, oh, yeah, experiential evidence, right?
Mm-hmm. All right. So this may seem like a silly question to ask, and many of you might be saying to yourself, well, I know what emotions are. I felt angry, I felt grief or sadness or joy or jealousy. But when we started digging in and really looking at this topic, we have sort of some overlap between feelings and thoughts and beliefs and emotions. So doing a little research, I dug into one of my favorite authors, Candace Pert, who is a scientist who discovered some receptors in our body that were very important in the like the endocannabinoid system and the endogenous opiate system that we have. So what she discovered is that we manufacture our own molecules of emotion. And so her book actually is called Molecules of Emotion. So what she believes is that that's called the peptide hypothesis. Basically, where there is a mood, there is a molecule. So the peptides are actually released into the bloodstream and dock in these receptors that then play a part in how the emotion feels in our body. So peptides are composed of short chains that function like neurotransmitters in the body. And we also know from science and history that certain pharmaceuticals that are targeting for depression, like SSRIs, like Prozac, are targeting neurotransmitters in the body. And so there's been this large theory for the past few years that manipulating our neurotransmitters and our peptides are going to be the key that unlocks our emotions. But unfortunately, the serotonin hypothesis that people who are depressed have low serotonin, the idea that depression is a quote chemical imbalance of the brain, has not really been supported by the research over the years. We do know that our biochemistry is very important, and we'll talk about nutrition and all the foundational things that you can do to have the optimal biochemical transmission in your brain and body, and hormones and peptides and stuff like that. But it's not quite as simple as a chemical imbalance in the brain. So we think of, we can kind of boil it down to simpler language and think of thoughts are the language of the brain, feelings are the language of the body, and emotions are the chemicals that are created from both thinking and feeling. So I hope that helps a little. I'm sure it muddies the water a little too.
But I think it's really empowering to know that. And thank you, Louise, because did you know that you're a time traveler? Most of us are time travelers. And what I mean by that is that we are often thinking of the future or the past. And in Buddhist thought, when you are living in the past or the future, you are inviting in suffering because you're not in the present moment, and your body doesn't have any way to control either of those things. And so what you were saying about producing this chemistry in our body, when we have the thoughts, when we have the feelings in our body and our sensations, is that then we can prolong certain emotions, right? So we can keep recreating them for ourselves and get stuck on a little loop. And so kind of breaking this down and understanding this allows us the freedom then to catch ourselves, observe ourselves, and pick up some of these tools what we're going to be introducing.
Exactly.
Yeah, so how are you feeling? So this really impacted me. I was reading some studies about, in neurochemistry, about naming an emotion and the power of calming our nervous systems down just by naming, languaging and naming an emotion. And when I was doing some counseling work with people, I really saw this. So when I would work with people, I would say to them, how are you feeling? You know, give me a word, a feeling word like anger or sad or jealous, right? And what I found is that we live in a culture where we are in our minds and our heads a lot, so much so that we often don't even notice it. And so certain clients and certain people were actually not able to tell me a name of their emotion. They got really stuck in the thinking part of what we just talked about, and they went into storytelling, right? And so it can be really powerful to just get back into your body and notice your sensations that your body's having and give a name to what you're feeling. A great way to check in is just to put your hand on your belly or to put your hand on your heart and start to notice, you know, ask, what am I feeling right now? And then stop and listen. And when we do that, we can also have a little more empathy for ourselves, right? Oh, actually, I'm feeling scared. That cues us in to then be able to start to nurture ourselves more, right? So if you get stuck on this is a beautiful thing to teach children how to communicate how you're feeling. And there's some really great, we'll share in this presentation, just some lists of words. So if you don't know, you could even go, oh yeah, it's not quite anger, maybe it's frustration, right? And so that can really help cue you in to naming your emotion. So I love this quote by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Some of you might be familiar. Emotions are the chemical consequences or feedback of past experiences, right? So I was talking about that a little bit. As our senses record incoming information from the environment, clusters of neurons organize into networks. When they freeze into a pattern, the brain makes a chemical that it then is sent throughout the body, and that chemical is called an emotion.
Awesome. So one of the things that Joe Dispenza teaches us, and just if you're not familiar with him, I recommend checking out some of his books. His recent one, Becoming Supernatural, was such a great read that I read it twice in a row.
Really good.
Yeah. But one of the things he teaches us is that we remember events better when we have an elevated emotion. So remember, the amygdala and the hippocampus are really linked in the brain. So the stronger the emotion, either good or bad, the stronger the change in our internal chemistry. And then our brain will pay attention to what's going on outside of us. So it's taking a memory, and this is because we're wired this way for survival, because the brain is wired to help us remember those events that are going to help keep us alive. So if there was something dangerous, we're going to have fear. That's going to be really strong linked to the memory of the situation that's outside of us, so that we can avoid that situation in the future. So in a way, our brain is wired for survival, but it really is not wired for happiness. Because happiness, you can survive even though you're not happy. So one of the things we can do to create new neural pathways for those happy feelings, the positive sensations, is something that we in our family call double down on joy. So one of the things my husband and I like to do, and with our two boys when they're around, is spend time by a river or a lake in the summer where the sun's shining bright and we're jumping in the cold water, and then we're lying on the hot rocks in the sunshine. It just feels so good. And what we've started doing is, when we're having a moment of happiness, we look at each other and we say, double down on joy. And we take in the scenario with all of our senses. How does the sun feel on our skin? What are we hearing? How are we feeling in our bodies? What are we seeing? And what we're doing is we're actually laying those tracks in our brain, making those happiness pathways even stronger. So try that. Start noticing, slow down your breath, pay attention to your breath, brings awareness to how we're feeling. And when you're having a moment of joy, sink your teeth into it.
I love that. Sink your teeth into joy. Yes, please. I completely agree. I do that too. And it really imprints the moment instead of just jumping right over it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can come back to those moments. If you do want to do a little time traveling, you can also choose to come back to the joyful moments and encourage the brain to release those chemicals, which was, who doesn't want that?
Mm-hmm.
So a really simple way to think of your emotions is think of emotions as energy in motion. And emotions want to move. So that I put this big wave, this picture of this big wave, because water likes to flow, it likes to move. It's not happy when it gets stagnant. That's when all of the funky bacteria and everything starts growing in it, right? And our bodies are made up of water. We are just so primarily water. And so we need to move. We need to move our emotions. We don't want that stagnant energy to build up and cause us sickness, right? Because we know that there is really no difference between the physical and the emotions. That's all connected.
Can I just say too that there are no good or bad emotions, that all emotions are part of being human. And the problem comes, and emotions become illness or pathology when we get stuck in an emotion, when we only are able to see the sadness and we're not able to see the joy, or we're only able to see the anger or the rage. We're not able to see the tenderness and vulnerability. Excuse me. So if you think about, if you're having an emotion and you can name it and you can feel it and then you can let it go, you're keeping that movement going, and that's healthy expression. That's healthy emotional expression, whether you're enjoying the emotion or not. And I would also recommend, if you're feeling stagnant and stuck with an emotion that you can't really move through, cypress is a wonderful essential oil to help move that stuck energy. Put it in your diffuser, take a bath with it, put it on your feet.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think of it, when they've done studies, they determined that really an emotion only lasts for up to 90 seconds, that then another one comes, right? They keep moving. So if you're experiencing an emotion that's scary to you or hard to feel, or maybe it's one that you are resistant to, I just invite you in a safe space to imagine you're just turning that faucet of water on and just letting that emotion pour through you. And you can even set a timer. You can say, hey, I'll sit with this for a minute, right? Just 1 minute. You don't have to do 90 seconds. And I'm just going to just acknowledge it. I'm going to name it. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to give it a little breathing room and space, and then I can move on. Such a simple practice, but really, really helpful. So we wanted to talk about anger, and I included this slide in particular because I think that anger in our society is a hard emotion to feel. It is often unsafe for a lot of people. It has been expressed in really destructive ways, whether it's aimed inward or outward. And so people often will try to suppress it or not feel it, or let it build up so much that then it has some kind of implosive or explosive energy. And so I just want to remind you that all emotions are interrelated. And when we, in psychology, we understand that when we suppress one emotion, we are then suppressing others. We don't get to pick and choose. So if you choose to suppress anger and you're, getting irritated every day, but you just got to go to work and it's not time to feel it, what ends up happening is you suppress the opposite, and one of the opposite emotions to anger is your passion, right? So then you can just start to kind of numb down everything that you're feeling. And anger also is a motivator, right? So anger is a great energy for cueing us into something isn't okay. I'm not okay with this, right? And that is a great mover and shaker up to make some change. This slide that I included has an iceberg, and I love this because this often is shown. We talk about emotions in this way. So anger is the emotion that if you were in a boat, this is what you would see. You'd see that top part of that iceberg, but underneath, which is much bigger than what we see at top, is all of these other emotions that can lay underneath that surface of anger. And so when I'm angry, I often will do something of just doing a check-in and asking myself, what is underneath that emotion? And there is a great story that I like to tell about this idea and putting things into practice. So my sweetheart and I, his name is Nick, got in a fight, as couples will. And our fight was about Janis Joplin, of all things. I like Janis Joplin. He wasn't a big fan. I got really angry. I left the room. I went to take a bath to try to calm myself down. But instead of really calming down, I started thinking, and feeling my anger, and then thinking. And I started thinking about all of the ways I was right and all of the ways that he had wronged me and what I was going to say to him when he walked into the room. I know many of us can relate to this story in some way. And what I realized, and I started doing this work, is I stopped myself and I said, how has reacting to another person and listing off this big case of all the ways that you're mad at them helped you? Is that going to get you what you want? And I had to honestly answer no. It's just added flames to a fight. And so instead, what I did was I stopped, I paused, I kind of observed myself, and I asked myself, what am I feeling? And my response was a little punk, and it was like, I'm feeling angry, of course. It's an easy answer. And then I said to myself, is there more? Is there more? What else are you feeling? And when I did a little deep dive and I put my hand on my heart and I kind of got back into my body, the answer that came up is I was feeling rejected. And once I was able to identify that emotion, I was able to have some tenderness for myself. I keep essential oils by the bathtub, so I should mention I actually was using my oils too. And so when I reconnected with my sweetheart, instead of, fanning the flames of my anger and the argument, I instead said when he walked into the room, I'm feeling rejected by what you said. And he said, oh, that's not what I meant at all. And so I changed the outcome and I changed a pattern. And so this is, what we're talking about, of really becoming aware of these emotions, identifying them, digging deeper. And then the next step in that is having some communication skills to relate differently.
That's beautiful. I love that story. I just wanted to take a moment here while we're talking about anger to mention that a lot of women go through hormonal changes in the month, and there might be certain times of the month where anger comes to the surface, anger, irritability, that kind of thing. And a couple things to mention with that. One is that if you're feeling emotionally unstable, one of the splinters that you might want to remove is get your hormones checked. Work with a natural doctor who can help you find natural ways to get your hormones sort of more smoothed out, so that maybe you're not on such a rocky roller coaster every month. But I also want to say that because we do go through hormonal shifts, right before our cycle starts, our estrogen drops and progesterone is higher. And what estrogen does is it kind of gives us a little bit of cushion where we're more accommodating to others. We're more likely to suppress our own needs to take care of the family, or, again, it's helpful for survival of the species. But we lose that cushion when the estrogen drops. And so if you're experiencing premenstrual anger issues, that's real emotion. Don't just write it off as PMS. Pay attention to it. It's real. It just means that you have less ability to shove it down. You might, want to journal about it and talk about it when you're not feeling so vulnerable and raw at a different time of the month. But also, I just encourage you not to dismiss those emotions. And then while I'm on the topic of hormones, I want to mention that our thyroid hormones can play a big role in how we're feeling emotionally as well. And sometimes when people feel low and feel really hopeless and tired and sluggish and can't really motivate for their lives, they might go to a psychiatrist and get medicated for their mood. But what's really going on is their thyroid needs some attention. So don't forget to get your hormones checked as a possible root cause of emotional dysregulation. And then lastly, I want to talk about anger in terms of one of the things that I see with my patients is sometimes when we have healthy anger about something, it's a sign that it's like Ariana said, it's a motivator for change, whether we're having anger about some injustice in the world or anger about something in our own lives that needs some change. But if we're not actually expressing that anger and not activating the change, sometimes we end up collapsing and turning that anger back in on ourselves. And it looks and feels like depression. So if you're struggling with somebody in your loved one is struggling with feelings of depression, maybe explore what sort of anger might be at the root of that could be a healthy expression and break open that depression.
Definitely. And doing work here really allows for support. I think a lot of people get angry when they don't, it doesn't mean the only reason, but you can feel angry if you don't feel supported. And so by being able to dive a little deeper into this anger and get, to the bottom part of this iceberg can really help you to actually express and ask for that support opposed to pushing people away, which can be, a really huge benefit for your life and your family. So I love this quote: "Crying doesn't indicate that you are weak. Since birth, it has always been a sign that you are alive." I just want to get a t-shirt with that on, right? Because in our culture, often, suppressing our emotions is pretty the norm. It's what we're taught, especially, unfortunately, men. And expressing ourselves as we're teaching you is so important. And I wanted to share with you I have included the slide, and you see this tears of grief, laughing tears. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So our body is beautiful, and that it is always trying to move us back to a state of homeostasis or to find balance. And sometimes it just needs some help. And so when we have an emotion like we were talking about and it skyrockets, our brain really pays attention, right? There's a chemical in our the chemistry in our brain gets flagged, and our brains are going, okay, what do I do with this? I need to pay attention. And one of the things that can happen is it can signal our tear ducts. And it signals our tear ducts to create these beautiful packages called tears and release the tears. And what is really amazing about our tears is often if you cry, you can feel more stable after you have that release. And this slide shows what different emotions look like under an electron microscope. So these tears are literally made up of different things. And according to Joseph Stromberg of the Smithsonian College of Art and Sciences, happy tears are structurally different than sad tears, and they're different than angry tears or overwhelmed tears. So different types of tears have different molecules. Emotional tears have protein-based hormones, including a neurotransmitter, leucine, and it's enkephalin. Please forgive me if I'm pronouncing that word wrong, which is a natural painkiller that is released when we are stressed. So the nerd in me just geeked out on this. I thought that was so cool, right? So this is just even a little more food for thought when, like I just encourage you to try to emote through your face and release those tears when they want to come, if it's a safe space to do so, because your body is so wise. It's actually helping you to come back into balance and feel better. And then this is also emphasizing what we were talking about naming your emotions. So I introduced that idea to you a little bit earlier. So there was a study done at UCLA, and they took two groups of people who were arachnophobic or afraid of spiders. And they had the groups go outside, and they were going to approach an area where a tarantula was. And one group was told, there's nothing to fear. This spider isn't venomous. It cannot hurt you. This fear is irrational. You're going to be fine, right? It was very mind-based. And then the other group was supported and encouraged to speak out loud and express through their body, through their words, what they were feeling. So, it's hard to breathe. I'm feeling really uncomfortable as I get closer to the spider. I feel scared. I don't want to do this, this type of thing. And then they went back and they did another exercise, but this time the participants were going to be asked to hold the tarantula in their hand. I have a lot of empathy here because I think spiders are beautiful and amazing, but I am very terrified of them. So this study really spoke to me I could get the feelings of just looking at pictures. It brought up the feelings for me. And so what they found with the two groups is the group that was told they had nothing to fear, the spider isn't poisonous, had a lot harder of a time actually holding the spider and didn't do as well. And the group that was able to express their emotions and label them and be with them actually had better results holding the tarantula. So I just thought this was a really powerful study on, the effectiveness of how we acknowledge and move through our fears, and kind of how we coach ourselves, right? I've definitely been coached the other way of there's nothing to fear about the spiders, and it hasn't worked for me. So it's pretty amazing.
So a little bit more of the brain science behind this study that Ariana was talking about. I want to introduce the triune brain, which is a kind of a simplified model, but it's a really helpful model for looking at the brain. So the oldest part of the brain, the reptilian brain, is the brain stem, and that is the part of the brain that controls our autonomic nervous system, our breathing, and our heart rate and stuff like that that happens without thinking about it. And then we have the middle brain, the limbic brain, which is, we've already talked about, where we process our big emotions, where the amygdala and the hippocampus live. And then we have the neocortex, the newest part of the brain, which is our logical, cognitive brain, where we have the executive function and impulse control and that sort of thing. So if you think about, there's a model here that I like. The brain stem is here, the midbrain is here, and then the neocortex kind of covers over the midbrain. And sometimes when we're triggered emotionally, we go just into our emotions and we flip our lid and we lose our rational brain. And so when we can describe our emotions and think about our emotions in a couple words or more, what we're doing is we're bringing that neocortex back online. And it's, we still can have the feeling and the emotion, but we're containing it within the confines of our rational mind. And I'm not saying that our rational mind is better than our emotional brain, but we all have experienced the moments where we are just raw emotion, and it can be kind of scary. And so, excuse me, naming our emotions is one very simple act we can do to bring the neocortex back online.
So these slides are in reference to a study. It's called an ACE study. It's Adverse Childhood Experience Study, done by Kaiser Permanente. And it was a really extensive study that tracked people from childhood into their adult life. And what they were looking at is the effects of trauma on our physical, emotional, and habitual health. And so this slide, what this is telling us is that they were tracking abuse, physical, emotional, sexual, neglect, and household dysfunction. And when they did the study, through the years, they really showed in the study a huge correlation to the higher that these people scored on this ACE study. So what that means is that the more neglect that they were experienced, the more household dysfunction, the more trauma that they experienced as a youth, they were in a higher category of risk for all of these things listed here. So lack of physical activity, alcoholism, drug use, and also the physical and mental health, right? So, suicide attempts, depression that you might kind of guess, but also strokes or cancer, obesity, heart disease. And so what this study is really, really confirming for us is that trauma and our emotions, again, are not separate from our heart health or our brain health or our bone health and our physical health. And this is the ACE pyramid, and I just wanted to point out that it's really heartbreaking because with this increased trauma as youth, your chances are increased to have an early death. And before the early death stage, you can see here, there's a lot of other negative effects: disrupted neurodevelopment, social, emotional, and cognitive impairment, adoption of health risk behaviors. And so part of the intention, that I have and that we have teaching this is to give you tools. So if you do fall into this category, that you don't have to be on this pyramid, that you don't have to be one of those statistics. And to also have some compassion and an invitation to move out of shame and to understanding, maybe I am more susceptible to some of these higher reactive states because of the trauma I experienced. And so therefore, I can create a safety net around myself of great tools and support so that I can move back into a peaceful, or I can learn a peaceful state of being. If you're interested, if you just Google the ACE study, you'll have lots that pops up. And if you get on that Kaiser Permanente site with the study, you can take this test and look at your score and see where you fall within the system.
Oh, our good friend Joe
Yes.
So Joe says, when the fight or flight system is switched on and stays on because of chronic stress, the body utilizes all its energy reserves to deal with the constant threat it perceives from the outer environment. Therefore, the body has no energy left in its inner environment for growth and repair, compromising the immune system. So this is just, once again, going back to maybe one of the reasons why adverse childhood events create stress, and then downstream effects create physical problems with the body and emotional and addiction and behavioral problems. But like we talked about earlier, we're all under a certain amount of stress. And this is one of the reasons why in my practice, I'm really passionate about teaching people methods of recognizing their stress and then decompressing from it. So we know the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight, when that's on, our parasympathetic nervous system is off. And when we turn on our parasympathetic nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system turns off. So while there are a lot of things in the world we can't control, we can do activities that turn up the volume of our parasympathetic nervous system. And some of those activities might be things like meditation, mindfulness practice, self-compassion practice, yoga, heart rate variability from heart math, something I teach called TRE, which stands for tension and trauma releasing exercises. And when we're stuck in that fight or flight, what happens is we're really only paying attention to what we need to survive. So our focus really narrows, both actually our vision narrows, but our emotional focus narrows too. So when we can bring up the parasympathetic, turn down the volume of our sympathetic, what we're doing is we're opening our focus and we're allowing other parts of our brain to come online. And that creates an opportunity for things like creativity, more human to human connection, innovations in thinking. Maybe you've all experienced when you're on vacation, you have all these great ideas of things you do, and then you get back to your regular life and poof, they're out the window. So I really believe that this is a major key to learning how to navigate our modern culture and move past this place where we seem to be stuck in fear and sympathetic overdrive.
And it really is learning, right, Louise? Like if you, I mean, many, I just want to say to people, if you feel like you're one of those people that might have a high ACE score, if you know that you do, you're not alone. There are so many people who have experienced childhood trauma in some form and to some degree. And so what I really believe is it's like going into a classroom again, you know, a life classroom of just learning. It's learning how to reset the body and the nervous system and your habits and your skill sets so that you can create a different state that maybe you learned as a child.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Woohoo! Our new oil, black spruce, is just the oil to help our nervous systems deal with all this stress. This is a brand new oil that doTERRA just released, and it is very supportive to the neuroendocrine system, to our adrenals, to that feeling of being so stressed out that you're just sort of fatigued and deeply exhausted and don't really have the resources. It really helps pull in deep resources. You think about the black spruce trees have been standing tall and strong for millennia, and we can lean on them for that energy that we need. If you have it, a couple ways you can use it along the inside arch of your feet every day helps support your hormonal system and your adrenal glands. You could put it right over your adrenal glands after you get out of the shower on your back, or literally just diffusing it in the air is going to help you feel like you have more courage and strength to carry on. And also, if you'd like to know more about this oil, Ariana and I and Dr. Mika Karu did a really nice call on that earlier this week, and those recorded calls live on the Essential Wellness website.
Yeah, definitely check it out. Black spruce is also a beautiful oil for generational healing, so a great one to bring in if we're working with that childhood trauma.
Oh, so here's another tool for you, for your toolbox. This combines several different ideas that I've learned from a couple teachers who taught about trauma and healing from stress. So what I want you to try is take your right hand and put it in your left armpit, and then take your left hand and put it on your right shoulder, and just give yourself a little hug. And what you're doing here is you're providing a safe container for yourself. So sometimes when we're feeling really emotional, one of the things that can lead to a cascade of feeling out of control is just feeling like you don't know when it's going to end or how strong the emotion's going to get. And it can kind of snowball. So providing a little container for yourself with this physical, you can give yourself a little squeeze, and imagine that you are treating yourself like you would treat a young child who is suffering. And you can, while you're giving yourself a little hug, you can squeeze your armpit, has some great acupuncture points in it, which will help activate your heart space. And then you can softly say to yourself, this is hard. You're having a hard day. You're really suffering right now. This will pass. I know you're going to be okay. And I'm a big fan of Kristen Neff, N-E-F-F. She's a self-compassion researcher, and she teaches these methods of bringing self-compassion to ourselves in times of struggle. Because once we really start paying attention to our inner dialogue, we learn that oftentimes we are really, really hard on ourselves. And when we are hard on ourselves, it's like we're the attacker and the attacked at the same time. So this action, when you're feeling emotional, can really, and bringing that kindness to yourself, can break that cycle of being the attacker and the attacked.
And if you haven't done this, I highly encourage to give this a try. It feels really good.
So I bet you're wondering if we're ever going to talk about essential oils. We are. And we are going to kind of zoom through this last part a little bit faster now that we've laid some groundwork. So you might want to take some screenshots of some of these slides. If we're going too fast, just be ready for that, or take some notes. So
and just,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, so just to summarize so far in your toolkit, so just sharing what you already know, a great tool is to use that breath that I taught you, to use your essential oils aromatically. We'll go a little deeper into that. You can give yourself that beautiful self-hug and say, it's okay, having a hard day. And you can, I'm forgetting something. What else am I forgetting, Louise? Last tool.
Our adaptive capsules.
Adaptive capsules, right? So already we've covered some great tools to be adding to that toolkit. So this is this beautiful rainbow instead of that gray pyramid that you just saw. This is our solution to that East pyramid, right? And so this is, might be familiar to some of you, it's our doTERRA wellness pyramid that we come back to as our foundation. And this is just an expanded version, right? So we are going to now start talking to you about the importance of eating right. Most of you have probably heard that, but digesting right is incredibly important too. Hydrating And then, as you can see, really zoning in and really nourishing all of this great foundation to feel good. And when you look at this pyramid, I would just encourage you to just take a little inventory and say, maybe I'm doing a great job eating right and getting my exercise, but maybe I could do a little more work with my stress management, right? So you can have a little inner gauge of maybe where you need to give some more attention to. And
Anna,
yeah,
would you go back?
yes.
Um, would you comment on reducing your toxic load?
Oh, yes.
And thank you.
Yes. Thank you for the reminder. I said this in our Monday night presentation.
Mhm.
So this is really, I think, a really important part, which is when we look at this, we really do have a tendency to think of the physical, eating the right food, right? We know about exercise. When we think of reducing toxic load, we often talk about cleansing and, the environmental impact of toxicity on our bodies. That's pretty familiar to a lot of us. But what's also really, really important to consider is the toxic load that we are taking in, emotionally as well, and energetically. So what news sources or listening to the news, how is that affecting you on a day-to-day basis? Who are you surrounding yourself with? What movies are you watching? Are you watching violent, scary movies before you go to bed at night? Are you doing a lot of screen time? Are you on social media and constantly comparing yourself to other people? And I think a really important, sneaky one that I want to point out so that it can come into the light is the toxic load of our own toxic thoughts. Sometimes these thoughts look like ways of berating or belittling ourselves, that inner voice in ourselves that tells us, that we're not good enough or we're not lovable or there's something inherently wrong with us. And the truth is that we deserve love and compassion, every single one of us, and we deserve to be radiant and healthy. And so when that voice comes in, you have the ability to, tune into a different frequency. So moving into essential oil use, if you're very new to essential oils, we just want to make sure you know how to use these beautiful gifts of the earth. And they really are so amazing for us. So aromatic use, we mentioned diffusing. Diffusing is a great way to get those oils right to our limbic brain, into our house of memory, and change our neurochemistry. We can also, of course, I showed you when we were doing the breath exercise, put them on our hands, smell them right out of the bottle. For topical use, we're going to show you some acupuncture points that we're just going to use the oils on and hold that point. It's a beautiful topical way to use these essential oils. And also just rubbing them on sore shoulders or our hands and smelling them, or the bottoms of our feet are great spots. And then internal use, right? So we saw that adaptive gel cap. And so we know that if we're really wanting to target our gut health, our digestive tract, work on that neurochemistry, that internal use will be a great way to help let the essential oils help us in that fashion. Also, just adding a few drops of citrus to our water is also a really great way. We use it internally, and then when we're drinking it, we also get that aromatic use as well.
Absolutely. So this is just a nice way of visually understanding what's happening when we smell our beautiful essential oils. And you can see there that the olfactory system of the nose, where we take in the aromatic substances, is right next door to the limbic system of the brain that I keep talking about, where we process our big emotions. So really using essential oils aromatically and smelling them is the fastest way to change your brain state. And I would also say, if you're new to using essential oils, it's a little bit different of a paradigm than our modern medical paradigm, where we take a pill once a day and expect instant change to happen. Essential oils are very potent, powerful, and yet gentle substances, but they're volatile and they move quickly through our body and are eliminated quickly. So the model of use that works best for essential oils is small, frequent doses throughout the day. So one of the ways you can do that very easily is to have your diffuser going in your office or your workspace or your home during the day. And that way you're breathing the molecules all day long and getting a tiny, tiny dose that's uplifting your mood or helping you with clarity or focus or whatever it is that you're working on.
And so this is our great emotional aromatherapy kit that doTERRA offers. And what I really love about this is it gives you a wheel. So, right, we mentioned naming the emotions. So here you go. Here are some great emotions. So you can cue in and reach for the essential oil that really is going to kind of be the best match for you and the support that you want. What I also love about this wheel and wanted to point out is that the chemistry of, say, the citrus oils is beautiful for promoting happiness and a sense of upliftment. We call those sunshine in a bottle because of the chemistry and how it affects our bodies and our brains. The florals are going to be incredibly comforting. There are euphorics, so they're going to make us feel good, right? And so if you get to know a little bit of the chemistry of just what the mint oils do, what the tree oils do, then you are going to really be able to be even more proactive and really reach for many of your oils and use them and say, oh, maybe today I feel like some bergamot for my happiness, and maybe tomorrow I reach for wild orange. And you'll be able to interchange those oils or really utilize the oils that you already have. I also just wanted to mention in this kit that the names cue us in. What do we want to feel more of? Well, if we want peace, we can reach for that one. So this is just a really great little toolkit here as well. And then another tool is the Daily Drop, doTERRA's Daily Drop app. And this has got a great spot on it, everyone, for determining your mood. So it makes it really easy to do what we've already taught you. You have a little gauge here, a little bar, and you just move your finger on that bar and you dial in how you're feeling in the moment. And then that's a screenshot of, the emotions. And then the next on the right-hand side is a screenshot of determining your mood, right? So once you dial in how you're feeling, then doTERRA will give you some suggestions of what oils to use. And what's so great about this is you don't need to have all of those oils. If you have just used your last few drops of balance, you can reach for your peace or your cheer.
That is such a nifty tool. We would feel negligent if we did not share with you the effect that copaiba oil can have on your mood. So why is it related to CBD? And everybody knows CBD is cannabidiol from the cannabis plant. Copaiba is not related to the cannabis plant at all and doesn't have any cannabis in it. But it has a molecule called beta caryophyllene, which docks in the same receptors, the CB2 receptors in our body. It doesn't have any psychoactive effects, but it has the calming effects that CBD has on the body. So it's very similar or even better relaxant and really wonderful to help with any body pain, aches and pains, and worried, anxious feelings. Very effective. You can take it as the oil, several drops, 2 to 3 drops under your tongue, or it also comes in a capsule if you would prefer that.
Yeah, and one thing I just want to point out about CBD is that a lot of CBD is we don't know what the purity is. And what I really love about our doTERRA essential oils is that they're certified pure therapeutic grade. So we're really guaranteed a pure and potent chemistry that has not been adulterated when we use our copaiba. And so that's just something to consider if you're making a choice between the two, or if you want to do more research, is you really want good quality.
So I was a chef for many years before I became a naturopathic doctor, and I have a really strong foundation of nutrition as like the foundation of our medicine. We put food in our mouths multiple times a day, and every time you put food in your mouth, it's an opportunity to vote for your cells. And I really see over and over again how big of an effect your diet and nutrition can have on how we feel emotionally. So my recommendations for basic healthy eating, but also for a foundation for good mood, is eat real food. Avoid the processed foods. Think about this picture here. You can identify an avocado, the nuts, the seeds, the fruit. You want to be able to tell what the food is. Think of what your great grandparents ate. Secondly, avoid industrial seed oils like soybean, corn, cottonseed, sunflower, safflower, or margarines. Those are all made from pro-inflammatory oils that are high in omega-6. And we know that inflammation is plays such a part in all chronic disease. And now we're starting to understand that things like depression may have an inflammatory cause. So bring your inflammation down and everything is going to improve. Number 3, manage your blood sugar. If you've ever experienced a drop in blood sugar, like we call it hypoglycemia or reactive hypoglycemia, maybe you just skipped a meal or you're out shopping and you didn't bring any snacks with you, and you feel maybe like you snap at your spouse or you yell at your child, or you feel really irritable and you're grinding your teeth, or you're shaky even, or it could feel as much as a panic attack. Well, that's because your brain thinks it is a panic. When your blood sugar drops, your brain is trying to tell you, this is an emergency, get some food in you right away. And so the way to do that is quit your addiction to sugar. Stop eating so much sugar and make sure that your meals have enough fiber, fat, and protein to stabilize your blood sugar and help you feel solid until the next meal.
And I just want to say too that Slim and Sassy is a great oil if you do find that before you can reach for that snack and you do get to that point. That cinnamon helps balance the blood sugar levels. So
absolutely, I always have that in my purse. I'm not a believer that there's one diet that's right for everybody, but I do want to caution you, if you are a vegan and you're having emotional dysregulation, you might look at your diet as something that could change. Vegans have a tendency to possibly be deficient in B12, K2, proteins, vitamin A, iron, and zinc. And all of those things are really important for stable mood. If you eat grains and beans, properly prepare them, soak them, ferment them. If you've never done a gluten-free challenge, try it. 30 days or at least 4 weeks without any gluten. You can't just mostly go off gluten because you won't really get the good information. I have seen over and over and over again in my practice and in my personal life, people who give up gluten have a much more ability to focus, less volatile emotions, less pain, usually drop weight, sleep better, their skin improves. It's a real problem for a lot of people. So just test yourself and see how it goes. Eat more fermented foods. There's a huge connection between our microbiome and our gut health and how our brain functions and our emotions. Eat the rainbow. You want to go for all the colors. All those brightly colored fruits and vegetables have different polyphenols, and we need them all. If you eat meat and seafood, go for the free-range, pastured, wild-caught eggs and animal products. And those are my recommendations. And like I mentioned before, Our microbiome is really important, that we have healthy gut bacteria for so many things, but our mood definitely is related to that. And the PB Assist is our probiotic formula that has a special formulation to help it get through the digestive tract so that it releases its contents in the intestines where it's needed. And our Terrazyme is a digestive enzyme complex that helps us break down the food so that we know that we're actually absorbing the nutrients that we eat, which is also very important. If we have impaired enzymes, we could be eating a really healthy diet and spending a lot of money on organic food and all these pastured meats. But if we're not absorbing it, we're still malnourished. So these two things are daily support for your digestion.
And so important, right? Because we're learning that, you know, you might have heard that gut is the second brain, right? So we're learning that our hormones, our neurochemistry is actually produced in our guts. We really want to support that level.
And then even if you're eating a really fabulous diet with all sorts of colorful vegetables and pastured meats and good healthy fats, the likelihood that you still need a multivitamin is quite high. Unfortunately, our soils have been depleted of lots of the micronutrients, and it's very difficult to get all the nutrients we need just from food, unfortunately. doTERRA's Lifelong Vitality Pack is a really high quality supplement. We have a multivitamin and mineral. We have our omega-3 fatty acids, which are so important for decreasing inflammation, feeding the brain and the heart and the joints. And then the Alpha CRS is an antioxidant formula, which is basically like taking a fire hose to all the inflammation in your body. So everybody needs this. And one of the wonderful things about the LLV, Lifelong Vitality Pack, is that doTERRA has such strong conviction that you'll like it, that there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you don't have anything to lose. Try it for 30 days and see how you feel.
Yeah, and definitely has changed my life. It's a real game changer for a lot of people. So I encourage you to give it a try if you haven't.
So I just finished the most remarkable book on sleep. It's called Why We Sleep. And wow, did it open my eyes about how important sleep is, not just for our emotional health, but for all of our health. But just to highlight a few facts about our emotional health, we know that not getting enough sleep wreaks havoc with our emotions. I mean, it's quite common if, maybe you're a parent of a child and your child is acting out, you might say, oh, well, so-and-so is tired, But what happens is the amygdala, which we've talked about a lot, where we process our big emotions linked to fight or flight, can be amplified over 60% in emotional reactivity in this study where participants were sleep deprived. So this study also revealed that different emotional centers in the brain associated with impulsivity and reward-based behavior, basically dopamine-related behavior, though that area became hyperactive when people were not getting enough sleep. So not getting enough sleep doesn't just put your brain into a bad mood, it puts it into a volatile mood. So you're in mood swings and extremes of positive and negative. And in adolescents and children, there's a link with poor sleep and suicidal thoughts, aggression, bullying, and behavior problems. Also, with that dopamine link, when you have a hypersensitivity to pleasurable experiences, if you're sleep deprived, it can lead to more risk-taking behaviors, sensation-seeking, addiction, and that sort of thing. So sleep is really foundational to stable mood. Don't cheat yourself. These are a few products that can help you get to sleep. And I definitely have a diffuser going in my bedroom at night, which there are all sorts of different oils that you can use to calm down your brain and help you sleep.
Yeah, and I just want to mention the Serenity gel caps that have passion flower and lavender in them are really lovely because they don't put you to sleep. They help your nervous system calm down so you can relax and get to sleep. So those are a really great aid. And that calmer is really lovely for babies and children and adults too. You can just roll that right on the bottoms of the feet and smell it. So your diet is not only what you eat, it is what you watch, what you listen to, what you read, and the people around you. Pay attention to what you feed your soul, not just your stomach. And again, that was just reiterating our conversation from earlier, just a reminder. And then we're moving into this part of the presentation. And again, as we mentioned, we are going to move through this pretty quickly. So please just take a screenshot, or you can come back. I know we have given you a lot of information. So this is a presentation you might want to listen to again, or you've taken notes. But we are introducing some acupuncture points. And what you'll do is you'll just very gently put the essential oil on your fingers and hold that point. If it feels confusing, you could just actually rub essential oil in the area. And we're going to just kind of move through some support for different things as humans often we need help with, like poor concentration and memory. I also wanted to point out that you don't need all of these oils. These are just great suggestions. So you can experiment, or you can start with the ones that you have, or you could just start with the first one on the list to make it easy for you. So this is a point known as gallbladder 20, and this is a gorgeous place to put oils for the brain and for memory. And this one is for self-esteem. So just the inside of the ankles, or you can hold that point, kidney 3, and great oil suggestions. Anger and frustration, right? So we talked a little bit about some tools to work with anger, and here's another one just to help you move through that. Overthinking and worry. And so this is spleen 6, and that to explain that picture, that's just kind of how you find it, is that it's going to be 4 finger widths up on the inside of the ankle. And again, if you feel overwhelmed by trying to find the exact point, just rub the oil there. Nervous tension and agitation. I love this because this is a little bit lower, but our pulse points are always great places to put oils, and this is traditionally where a lot of women puts perfume, right? So those wrists have a lot of great points. Feelings of anxiety. This is a great spot if you're having some anxious feelings. Just give yourself some love. You can talk gently to yourself. Disempowerment and indecision. And our last one, sadness and grief. And that point is CV17. So just right on the middle of the chest. And then this is a kit that is not, it's not a kit that doTERRA put together, but we put together for you as a great launch. So if you want to know, where do I start? I challenge you to do this for 30 days and see if you feel better. The price listed is if you are also signing up for if you're new and you're signing up for a doTERRA wholesale account. If you already have one, this is a great combo to put on your loyalty rewards, and then you'll get some points back. And the adaptive is going to be available October 1st. The rest of these products are already available via the website. And then this is the other great powerhouse you can bring in. I love this diffuser. I actually have it going right by me as I'm doing this presentation. And then those are the emotional aromatherapy oils that we mentioned earlier. And that is a kit available. And then we just wanted to share with you our protocols. So we use these products, and you can take a screenshot. Sometimes I just often have people asking me like, hey, I have a lot of oils, but how do I use them daily? What does that look like? So this will give you a great starting point as well. And there's Dr. Louise Rose's daily protocol. I love the liberal use of magnolia, jasmine, and neroli. I use that too. And there are some great resources available out there. I wanted to point out two in particular, if you're interested in the spiritual and energetic work with oils. Plant Spirit Medicine by our beloved Dr. Mika Karu. This is a wonderful book that walks you through meditating with the essential oils. So if you want to dive deeper, that is available on Amazon. And it is a really gorgeous book. It has gorgeous artwork designed by also Asha McLaughlin in our community. And then the Plant Wisdom book by my dear friend and community member, Amber Jane Arquette. So both of those books are available on Amazon, and they can help you dive a little deeper into working with these oils. Another resource that's great if you're interested in the acupuncture points is the AccuOil Alchemy course. And Louise, I'll let you talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so this is a wonderful free download that you can get from Diane Del Reyes, who's put together a whole online class. But if you were curious about using essential oils on acupuncture points, this is a great free resource where I would recommend that you start. I find that this is a wonderful way to shift the energy in the body and the mind, especially on the mental, emotional level. So I highly recommend digging in and learning some of these tips from Diane. You can see the place down here on the bottom, dianedelreyes.com is where you're gonna get your free book from.
Just so grateful for so much wisdom within our community. It's so awesome. And so as we just wrap up our presentation, I love this, and it is really speaking to, this quote really speaks to that idea that we are wired to survive. We're not really wired just to be happy, right? But we can choose. Our brains are so amazing and our bodies are so amazing that we really can choose happiness and find happiness if we pay attention. And this blend is so amazing. So we want you to pick up your crown. We encourage you to. We celebrate you. All of us, each one of us is royalty, and we deserve to treat ourselves as it is true. So this is a great blend that you can blend up. It's also going to be really, really gorgeous for your hormonal balance. And it smells amazing. It's a good date night blend too. It's super sexy. And so thank you so much. It is an honor to be with you. Thank you for your time. And I just want to read this quote aloud because I love it so much. Only from the heart can you touch the sky. And thank you, Louise. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
Just if anybody wants to learn more about how they can contact me as a physician, if you go to the next slide, my website is listed there.
Thank you both so much.
Mm-hmm.
That was amazing as always. And I cannot say enough about how incredible Dr. Rose is as a practitioner. So if you're looking for somebody in the Portland area to see, she has a special treat with a sauna and does hydrotherapy and oil treatments and works with food and really treats each individual very holistically and really helps build a strong foundation for your healing. So we are so very blessed to have you so freely share your time, your wisdom, both of you ladies. It is such a gift to all of us, so we're very grateful. Thank you so much. Ariana, go ahead and go to the next slide, please. We're going to wrap it up because we went a little extra long today. So if you are not part of our Essential Wellness community, we invite you to join us. This is just an example of the quality of education that we do every month. We have a thriving community of essential oil users. When you join our team, you get access to many more of our resources and our community Facebook group. And it's super easy. Go ahead and go to the next slide. All you need to do is talk to the person that invited you to this webinar. However, if you found this webinar via my Facebook page or Instagram, or you're not sure who really connected you, go ahead and email us at info@essentialwellness.life, and we will help you connect the dots and get back to the person that connected you and help get you going. So we hope that you all have a beautiful day and that you are able to soak in this information. And Ariana and Dr. Rose forgot to give you this one last call of action, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. Take one or two things from this webinar that really resonated with you, write them down on a piece of paper, and begin to implement them in your life every day. The way that you are going to see lasting change from using our essential oils and our products is when you get in a healthy daily routine and that you use them every single day. That's where we see the best and most amazing transformations. I know that all of us have experienced that personally. The essential oils do go through your system fairly rapidly, and we are bombarded with stress and toxicity every day. So every day we must do all that we can to support ourselves to be healthy, happy, and live in a space of joy. So thank you all so much. Have a beautiful day, and we're gonna wrap this up. This recording will be on our team website at essentialwellness.life. It will take a few days to get posted, but we'll have it up there soon. And we'll look forward to connecting with all of you next month. Okay, bye-bye.